Hi, welcome to Livonia Symphony Coffee Chat. My name is Patricia Fisher, and I am the principal percussionist of the Livonia Symphony Orchestra, and today we are talking to Linda Ignagni. Linda, if I was to ask you this question or make this statement, how would you fill in the blank? Did you know that Linda Ignagni, when she's not playing music, she does?
I can and read about food preservation, and my favorite thing to do is I work in porcelain.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like we got two really good things to talk about there, working in porcelain and canning and food products. Awesome.
Preservation, yeah.
Okay, so how long have you been working with porcelain?
Wow.
Longer than the symphony?
I don't want to give away. I have been working in art as long as I can remember, and I studied in college. I also studied under Kay Black, who was a renowned porcelainist expert.
Wow.
In fact, I have a diploma, and from studying with her, she would only teach teachers, but she took me. I don't know if she felt sorry for me or what, but she let me study with her, and I learned.
Was she local here in the Detroit area?
Yes, she was. She's since deceased.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But she worked in Dresden doll draping.
Wow.
Clay. We're talking about porcelain clay, and taught me how to do flowers with my fingers and things like that.
It's a visual art, and you do music too. So what got you interested specifically in porcelain and not other kinds of visual arts?
Well, I liked clay, and I was doing ceramics, and I thought, and I tried to throw a pot in college several times, and between the wall and the floor, they got more attention than my display.
So you're saying your aim wasn't really great when you were throwing a lot of clay down?
I wasn't. Well, I had trouble, reaching the petals and all that with the clay, and it's just too heavy. It was too bulky. The clay itself. I like the finer things, like the finer clays. They're more difficult to work with because they're not very forgiving, but because they warp in the kiln or they don't come out as the way you want it to. You never know how it's going to come out because porcelain is an opaque clay, and it's not. It just is a more refined clay.
So that was a question I had. So it is actually a type of clay.
Yes, I have molds where I can pour. I pour clay, liquid clay, which we call slip, into a mold, and I can make a teacup.
So that's kind of not how I think of clay. That's more like of a liquid kind of.
That's clay, but we call it slip.
But it's liquid. If you're pouring it into a mold, it's liquid,
but it's
right?
clay. It's liquid clay, and it dries very quickly.
So unlike what you would see in the movies with somebody with that wheel that you were talking about, throwing a chunk of kind of like wet mud on it and then forming like a vase or something out of it, this is much finer and different material, and sometimes poured like liquid.
I don't do pottery. That's pottery.
Okay.
You can do pottery with porcelain, That's a high fire too, but um, it's a heavier. I'm not good throwing.
So pottery clay is just totally different than porcelain clay.
Well, no, you could throw porcelain clay. You just have to add a few things to it. But
Oh.
I don't like that kind of art.
Okay.
I like to put my hands into the clay and form them with my hands. And I know that the wheel, but then everything's round. That's just not me. I like the poured things. I like the more refined clay. I like to get my hands dirty with that kind of clay.
So that's very cool because that means you're making all your own shapes, whether they're square, round, rectangle. Do you make figurines as well?
Well, I can, but I also have been. I hate to call it China painting. I'm actually with working with figurines. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do when I would do doll draping, but I don't necessarily pour those items. I could get the greenware from someone in porcelain already poured, and then work a doll. Then I would make my lace and then form the lace on the doll or the flowers.
So you make the porcelain. You make the porcelain lace from scratch.
Well, you have to have cotton, and you get real lace, and you dip it in the liquid porcelain.
Wow!
Is the slip. You dip it in the slip, and there's a method of that. Buttercup socks go away, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
And you create you soak the lace in it.
Wow.
With liquid clay, and now you have clay lace.
So you soak the lace in it. Does that eventually get thrown in the kiln like your other porcelain ware does to harden the porcelain?
You have to fire it. It's very delicate. Once you put it on the doll, okay, the figurine, then and you do all your other things, make little flowers and make hair or whatever, and you put it in the kiln, you fire at a high fire in hopes that the lace that you prepared, comes out and what you have left is the impression of the lace. So the lace is actually hollow.
I was just going to ask if the actual fabric lace burns or dissolves or somehow in the kiln.
The actual lace itself, the cotton, disintegrates.
Wow.
And all you have left is the clay. So this is, I named my figurines. This is, I don't know if you can see her. This is Angel.
Oh. So if you hold it up just a little bit higher to get it into the camera.
That's
Angel. Well, that's a beautiful picture of her face. Can you hold it up just a bit higher so we can see the lace on the dress?
It's very hard.
I'm sorry. See, so that at one point was actual cotton lace, and now because you dipped it in
the bow.
Yeah.
I had a piece of cotton and just made the bow.
So the same thing. You dip that into the porcelain, and and the actual cotton dissolved or disintegrated in the kiln.
And
that's beautiful.
Those, see your hair?
Yeah.
This curl was, cotton that you get in the bottles of medicine and that.
You mean cotton balls?
Yeah, I got a piece of. I dipped it in liquid porcelain and formed it on the doll. It took 8 hours just to make her hair. And then there are flowers on her dress too, but you can't see them because they're so tiny. But if you see this vase,
Yeah, well, those are gorgeous roses.
The roses are done all by hand.
So
My fingerprints.
did you actually form the vase as well, or was that something you got and then added roses to?
This was poured by Kay Black, the actual vase. This is the first item I ever made with her. And
Wow.
I take the clay, make little balls, and then flatten it out, roll it, and those are the leaves.
So that has a lot of personal sentimental value to you as well, since that was one of the first things you did with your teacher.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
and then I had, because I told you I'm a figure, I work in China paint too,
sure.
which is a low fire. And you know that I do that because
you gave me a China
at the Livonia Symphony tea parties. I do all the cups and the teapots and that thing. Well, so the figurines that I would get, I would then China paint, and this is sort of one of them that I'd done.
Oh, I like the silver on the hat and on the rock on the bottom there.
Oh, thank you.
So
sign him, and here is.
So that was So these are prefabricated forms that you just add color and paint to.
Well,
these last two. Yes
and no. They're poured, okay, and I got them greenware. And at that time, I could add flowers or I could do anything. I chose not to. I chose to just leave it as itself, clean up the greenware, fire it, and then China paint it.
So how do you define greenware is something that doesn't have a paint on it?
It has not been fired yet.
So it's been poured and dried, but it's never seen a kiln.
That's correct.
So
I think I'm using it. And then there's bisque. Bisque is it's been fired at least once. So
that's something formed. That's something formed that's been fired, and then you just add the paint to it.
Because it's porcelain. Okay, yeah. This is porcelain. This is bisque. Okay, but it's a high fire, and because it's porcelain, it's harder, okay, and you can paint on it, and it holds water.
You mean it'll actually absorb moisture?
No. Porcelain, once you fire it once, it will hold water. This is.
You mean like a drink of water?
Yeah, it'll hold water. See, this is a vase, and you don't need a glaze on it. There's no glaze on this. Okay.
So the flowers, the red in the flowers is not painted. It's actually in.
Oh, that's the clay.
It's in the clay.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so I was going to ask a question like, say for that very first doll you showed us with all the lace in it, what are the steps you go through to go from creating it to having the final version? So.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of steps. Is there multiple killings where you fire it in different temperatures and stuff too?
Yeah, she's been through at least 4 firings. At least. I don't really remember how many firings.
So her hair, all the color is actually in the porcelain. You didn't paint that.
Not her hair. Okay. Her hair was, I painted.
Okay.
I kind of painted. That's where the figure painting comes in.
So one of the kilns helps harden the paint. One of the kiln firings helps harden the paint and drying it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a China firing.
Do you put a clear finish over all of that like you would like on wood to?
Her dress has been okay. First, she was wet. Okay, greenware. And she was wet. And while she was wet, I had everything ready. And then the cotton and everything, okay? And I put it on the doll. You know, I pleated the dress on. I made the sleeves and put them on. I put the curls in, I did the bows, and that has to be done all at once.
So once you start putting her together, you're not doing anything until it's done being put together.
That's right.
Okay.
I can't answer the phone, I can't do anything.
Okay.
That's it. And once that's done and she dries, I put her in the kiln, fire it up, a high fire, and that hardens it. Now she's bisque. Okay. And
so she can hold water if there was someplace to put water.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the lace now is so fragile that it's very fragile. In moving, this angel has suffered some damage to her sleeve from moving from one house to another. I have another piece that's absolutely gorgeous, and it suffered from moving from one place to another because the lace is so fragile. So, because of the lace being so fragile, I take an airbrush and airbrush just the lace and the ribbon with glaze. Okay?
So that's kind of like a protective coat then?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's still fragile. So I fire that up, and that hardens that up a little bit and hopes, and it makes it a little shiny. Okay, that's what makes it shiny.
Okay.
Now it's time you can paint her face and color her hair and do any other feature painting on her.
Wow.
And then you fire it up, the kiln, and she still gets a low firing. That'll only be maybe 4 hours, from the time she goes in the kiln, the time she comes out. And then maybe some last minute eye work. She goes back in the kiln for another firing. So there you are, 4 firings.
Wow, that is really impressive. I got to say, that's a lot of work too. So you were taught. Did you say her name was? What was her name?
Black.
Okay. So now that you are clearly very good at what you do, have you ever thought about teaching people how to handle and work with porcelain?
No.
Not your thing, huh?
No.
Teaching music.
I enjoy doing it with other people, but and lending a hand. But no, I'm not really. I suppose I could, but I don't think that I would be good at it.
So, just in case, because this is going to go out, on the web and stuff. There might be people in Livonia that see this. Would you be open to somebody approaching you and saying, that looked really cool to me. Could you show me some stuff?
Yeah, I could do that. I could show somebody how to make a rose, or how to dip the clay.
And then you got to pass it on.
Yeah.
So you said the other thing that you did was food preservation. Was that correct?
Yes. I've been because of the COVID. I've been doing a lot of reading and researching and studying and experimenting and.
I know that you used to do like some jams previously to COVID, and I think it was fig butter. I think.
Apple butter.
Apple butter.
Yeah.
So how has the downtime from being locked in the house because of a virus expanded your food canning or your food preservation?
Well, I used to be afraid of pressure cookers. And there's pressure canning, and then there's water bath canning. Now, I would water bath can, like I've forever, in 50 years, I've been water bathing, apple butters and jam and jelly.
I didn't exactly hear how many years that was.
I don't want to say it again. 50 years.
Well, you did say 50.
I did say 50 years
plus.
Okay,
all right.
And relish. I don't I won't eat the relish in the store. I make my own relish, and I've always made my own relish. And my son, my grandson was graduating, last June or May or whatever it was.
Oh, he graduated from high school?
Yep. And
congratulations.
I decided, actually, I said I would make tuna macaroni salad. And my children love the way I make tuna macaroni salad.
Well, you are a very good cook. I can attest to that.
Thank you. And so I said, well, I can't make it unless I have relish. I refuse to make it without my relish. So I made relish, and then I got the bug again, and I started canning, and I did some water bath. I did apple butter and I did dill pickles this time. That's the first year I've ever done dill pickles. Wow. I did my relish, the sweet relish. I salsa. My grandchildren keep coming over and stealing salsa, and they love the salsa. Tomato sauce. I think I started out with 40 or 50 pounds of Roman tomatoes, and I made sauce. And then I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to the basement, and I'm going to pressure can. And I did carrots. And from carrots, I went to green beans. And then from green beans, I canned steak.
Steak?
Steak and chicken. And
so I don't know anything about canning and food preservation. How does using a pressure cooker change things or allow you to preserve more things?
It has to do with the food itself, with the acidity in the food.
Okay.
And the amount of a pH, some things you just can't eat it if it'll get you'll die of ptomaine poisoning or something.
Botulism or something like that.
Botulism, that's right. Botulism. Yeah. So like carrots, it has to be pressure cooked, pressure canned, and but where tomatoes, you could pressure can if you want, but you don't have to.
Because of course a tomato has acidity.
Right, and there's ways of testing. They have these strips that you test, and you got to get a certain color. It's chemic. A chemist knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're
right.
We used to do that in chem class in high school, where you'd get these strips that would turn red if it was acid, or blue if it was not acid, alkaline if it was alkaline.
Yeah, and so if it was in the house, I tried to can it.
Are your cats still there?
Well, I lost Snowball, but I got the other two.
Oh no!
And honest, I didn't can them.
Okay, we can talk about that later offline.
Sure.
Okay, so you did a lot of research for this. Are there any websites or books that you would suggest?
Yeah. I got the American. Definitely the Ball book. Ball
canning, ball jar canning.
Yeah. And then the American. Oh gosh, they're all.
Is that the American Cooking Show?
No. The FDA.
Oh.
Yeah, I got that.
The Federal Drug Administration.
Yeah, for safe food. So I'm still studying this. I'm not done. And then I got this really good book I thought was fun. It's the Amish cookbook.
Really? Good.
Yeah, it was. There was a couple recipes in there that are really quite good. I got I think it was out of that book. It was called Peach Bourbon Jam,
Wow.
and that went really quickly.
You said bourbon, right? Like the alcohol.
Peach bourbon, yeah.
Well, yeah, that would, I could see where that would be a great combination. Yeah.
And I think I had a taste of it. Between my friends and my children, the jars went fast.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, and I'm now working on trying to get it right. Canning jam and jelly without pectin, well, without a commercial pectin,
Sure.
but canning from the fruit itself, just fruit and sugar.
So
That's it, to get it to gel up the way you want it is
Sure.
the story. I made a lot of syrup.
So this has been really fascinating, Linda. I mean, I kind of knew a little bit about your porcelain work, but now I really understand the detail of it. And I knew a little bit about your canning because of your spaghetti sauce, but you've taken it to a whole new level now that you've been kind of shut in with COVID. I really appreciate you talking to us today. Thank you so much for sharing. So there's the answer to the question. Did you know that when Linda Ignagni is not doing music, she is creating porcelain works and doing a lot of food preservation with various kinds of cannings? I think that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Linda.
Well, thank you for listening.
This has been Coffee Chat with the Livonia Symphony, and I hope you come back and see more of our installments on the web. Thank you so much, and have a good day.